All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let me see, we got everyone ready to go. Okay, great. All right. Someone needs a breakout for positions 4 and 6. Okay. Any other special requests?
Your Honor, it's not a request. I just have an announcement.
Okay.
Miss Krista Parker was originally scheduled to be on your calendar today. She was a medical reset from yesterday.
Yes, I signed that order for the consent order with the state
Correct.
and defense attorney. So we good on that one?
Yes, Your Honor, but since she was already on the calendar, I just wanted to appear, make the announcement, make sure your calendar was cleaned up.
Yes, it is. It was Krista Parker, position 12, right?
Correct, Judge.
So that's
I
just
didn't
further
want to leave
notice.
you with a position.
So that's further
yes, ma'am.
notice,
I just didn't want to leave you with an open position hanging out there with nobody having appeared.
Oh, don't worry. I know where to find you. So.
And I will come running whenever you call, Judge.
Wow, that's such a nice offer. Thank you, sir. Okay.
All right. With that, my business is complete. May I be dismissed?
You're free to go. Enjoy your weekend. Thank you.
You as well, Judge.
Thank you. All right. I don't have any other special requests, so let's commence. My name is Judge Lal, and this is going to be the Fulton State Court's expedited accusation calendar. This is a list of misdemeanor cases in which individuals were recently arrested and booked at the Fulton County Jail. Upon being booked, the prosecutor, which is the Solicitor General's Office of Fulton County, has already formally accused the defendants of one or more misdemeanor offenses. Hence, this would be the defendant's initial appearance before a judicial officer. When I call your case, I will let you know what is going to be your formal accusation number, what are the charges of which you're being accused, to appoint counsel to represent you unless you have your own private attorney, and to also advise you of the bond amounts that have been set, or to consider a modification, or to set a bond if one has not been previously set. Some of you may receive a new court date for your particular case, and I anticipate the next court date is going to be June 8th. Would that be correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. For some of you, the next court date may be June 8th at 9 a.m. Now, that June 8th calendar most likely is going to be by, again, like this, a virtual proceeding. So if some of you appear in courtroom G33 for this particular case or the particular case that we are addressing today, please be advised that most likely it will be addressed virtually. So please go directly to the clerk's office to get the Zoom link so that you may participate in the proceedings, okay? If you are a defendant accused of one or more misdemeanor offenses today, please remember that you have a right to remain silent about the facts and underlying circumstances of the case. Anything that you choose to share with us during the course of this proceeding, your statements can and will be used against you. Please keep in mind that these proceedings are not only live streamed, but they are also being recorded. So everyone who appears in court, I expect you to be appropriately dressed and especially not moving around because it's very distracting. Okay, and for the defendants, you have a right to an attorney as well. If you cannot afford one of our counsel from the Public Defender's Office or the Conflict Defense List will be representing you. I see a couple of private counsel, Mr. Havachi, who's your client?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Great to see you.
Thank you.
My client is Dan Burnett.
All right, courtroom 2, is Mr. Burnett in the courtroom?
He is. He's
All right.
at the chair.
Oh, he's at the chair. Okay, good. And that would be position number 2. All right. And is Miss Burnett an attorney or a witness?
She is the alleged victim in the matter, Your
Okay,
Honor.
all right, thank you. Okay, so Mr. Daniel John Burnett, is that correct? Okay, case number 23CR 003329G. Mr. Habachi, is your client aware of the charges brought against him?
He is, Your Honor. We've had a chance to speak.
All right, so you know there are 3 misdemeanor offenses, including battery, domestic violence, and simple battery, family violence from May 16, 2023, correct?
That is correct, Your
All
Honor.
right. Mr. Burnett, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. You and your attorney have discussed the 3 misdemeanor offenses brought against you. And please remember your right to remain silent. My pretrial is Mr. Howard. Mr. Howard, any priors, please?
Second arrest, 2020, possession of cocaine and DUI.
Disposition?
I didn't see one.
All right, thank you.
I handled the matter, Your Honor. It was dismissed.
Mr. Jones, what's your recommendation for bond?
Yes, Your Honor. So the state's recommendation is an $8,500 surety bond, no further contact with the victim, a stay away, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. The reason for the state's recommendation is we believe that there's a factor of the intimidation of the witness. The victim here is the defendant's wife. And on 5/16, the victim and the defendant got into a heated argument regarding their marriage falling apart. The defendant became upset that his drug usage has ruined his reputation and therefore he cannot get a job. Outraged, the defendant grabbed the victim by her left and by her right and left wrist, pulling her in close to him, yelling in her ear, causing pain. While having control of her wrist, he licked the side of her face. Furthermore, he groped her intimate parts.
Okay.
What's more alarming is that she did not call the police. However, she spoke to her hairdresser and told the hairdresser that she could handle it. However, just 7 days later, there was a second incident where the victim adjusted the AC temp and the defendant again got enraged and yelled at her about the same problems. As the victim tried to escape, the defendant blocked her movement and used his size to scare and intimidate her. Your Honor, the victim did speak with our victim witness advocate, in which she stated that she is not afraid of the defendant and she's okay with having contact with him. However, as you know, the cycle of domestic abuse, we are concerned that because the victim did not report this incident when it originally happened, and an incident happened a second time, that we're concerned for her safety. Also, the defendant clearly has the defendant has a substance abuse problem. Therefore, we feel he's a danger to the community. As per the victim, he is refusing to get treatment. The victim also stated that the defendant has been very verbally abusive in the past. So that is why the state's recommendation again is $8,500 surety bond, no further contact with the victim, stay away, no alcohol, drugs, or weapon. Your Honor, I do believe that the victim may be on, so at the appropriate time, if the court can sound for her.
All right, Mr. Abachi, do you want to go first or should I let Ms. Burnett?
I think you can let Ms. Burnett speak, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Ms. Manon Burnett, did you want to contribute to the proceedings or then I'll have to place you under oath. Otherwise, we can proceed with the defense counsel. Ms. Burnett, if you need to unmute if you have something to say.
You hear me?
Yes. Before I begin, I see two individuals, Kyle Burnett. Are those the children involved?
Yes.
Okay, both of them over the age of 18.
Yes. Well, my daughter is 18.
Okay, thank you. All right, Ms. Burnett, if you would like to raise your right hand, do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So this is very concerning based on the allocution by the explanation given by the prosecutor. My concern is alleged claims of drug abuse and harm to the household. Do you have any comment about that?
I feel like I perhaps should have thought better about what I was reporting. I thought I was reporting what has happened, but I didn't realize the magnitude of what that would lead to, and that was not my intention. I understand these are serious. What I'm trying to say is I think my emotions got the best of me in that instance, and I should have thought about what the implications would be for Dan and my family.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Burnett. You may mute yourself. Thank you. Mr. Abachi, anything to add?
Judge, I will say this. I actually know this family very, very well, all the way up to Dan's father. These are good people, and they've been married for decades. I've spoken to both of the children who are here really in support of their father. They're certainly not afraid of him. There's not been a single police visit to this residence in 20 years. Not a single police visit. He had the cocaine charge you mentioned was really a DUI. The charge was dismissed. They have been having some struggles in their marriage. I know the state has a position about what they say took place. That's obviously all just an allegation, Your Honor, and we're not here to try the case. I mean, we'll have to deal with that at some point. But my understanding is that his wife has absolutely no objection to having contact with him. She's not afraid of him. I'm not opposed to the bond amount. It's not so much about the bond amount if the court feels that that's necessary, despite his absence of any domestic history whatsoever. However, I am concerned about the stay away. They are married, they share a household, and as I said, there hasn't been any other incidents. I do think that as time sort of heals the situation and the case develops, it will be shown that some of this was really sort of exaggerated. But we'll have to address that when in the appropriate time. But at the end of the day, Your Honor, I would just ask that it be no violent contact. My understanding is that there's not a current substance abuse issue.
I don't know, sir. I don't know. I'm just
Right,
raising a concern.
I would, if the court is concerned, we can have them evaluated. That's not an issue.
All right, thank you.
Your Honor, if I may briefly.
No, I'm prepared to rule. It's going to be a surety bond. Count one is going to be a $4,000 surety bond. Count two is going to be a $500 surety bond. Count three is going to be a $4,000 surety bond. The total bond is $8,500. It is a surety bond. No further contact with Menon Burnett. That's not violent. Is no further contact with Menon Burnett until further order of the court. No further violent contact with the adult children in question. So they are over the age of 18. So if both of them would like to visit the father or the father would like to visit them, they may do so, but the defendant cannot return to 270, I believe is True Hedge Trace in Roswell. Would that be correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. He may return one time only with a police officer to retrieve his belongings, but within 30 days of being released, he must update the court with a new address. While he's out on bond, released on bond, he will attend and complete one alcohol and drug evaluation and submit himself to any treatment that's required. Either Mr. Burnett or his counsel will report to the Solicitor General's office that the evaluation appointment has been set within 60 days of being released. Furthermore, within 60 days of being released, either Mr. Burnett or counsel will report to the Solicitor General's office with a document filed with the court that within 60 days of release, he has enrolled in a domestic violence intervention program. That is a 24-week program, which Mr. Burnett must begin within 60 days of being released and finish it to its completion, which is 24 weeks long. As I've said, he is free to visit his adult children, but he has to have no contact with Menon Burnett, which means he has to stay 200 yards away from her. He cannot communicate with her either through in person, through a third party, through a phone or a computer device, or even on social media. Now, if Mrs. Burnett and Mr. Burnett violate the no further contact, they do it to the detriment of Mr. Burnett. Because if there's any future contact, then, and the police get involved, it's only going to cause Mr. Burnett to be back in jail and possibly in a no bond status. I'm sure Mr. Habachi will explain to you the consequences of violating a no further contact. His next court date is going to be June 8th at 9 a.m. Mr. Habachi and Mr. Burnett, if your client makes bond before June 8th, he would not need to appear at the June 8th hearing. Instead, we will send him a new court date to the address that he provides. And of course, he must provide that within 30 days of being released. Any questions, Mr. Habachi?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you. That concludes the case.
Okay, thank you, Judge. Take care. Have a nice long weekend.
You too. Thank you.
Position
Next case.
7, Ms. Harris.
Honor, if y'all would, if the court would allow, if we could skip this case. I just spoke with the alleged victim and I need to send her the court link, if that would be permissible.
This is for Miss Shatoya, Miss Shatoya Harris.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, let's put a hold on that, officer. We'll take the next case.
Thank you.
Position 4, Ms. Burns.
I think someone's requested a breakout for that one.
I did, Your Honor.
All
Okay.
right.
That is correct.
All right, is this Miss Abby Burns is charged with simple battery domestic violence in 23 CR 003325J, allegedly from May 24th, 2023. Miss Burns, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Miss Wills. Mr. Howard, any priors?
No.
Okay. And who's hosting today? Miss Champion? No.
It's Miss Strong.
Miss Strong, would you please place me, Miss Reddick, and Miss Wills in a breakout, please? All right. We are readdressing the case of State versus Abby Burns, 23 CR 003325J. Based upon the sidebar conference with both the prosecutor and the defense attorney, Ms. Kelly Wills, the court is going to set bond at $1,500. It's a surety bond. The next court date is going to be June 22nd at 11 a.m. Ms. Burns is to have no further contact with Teresa Burns, and she's to stay away from 512 Wellwood Court in Roswell, Georgia. She's not to consume any alcohol and no illegal drugs. She's to be compliant with all treatment and medication that's prescribed. And the defense counsel will submit the appropriate evaluation. Thank you. That concludes this case. Oh, next court date, as I indicated, is June 22nd at 11 a.m. Thank you.
And Your Honor, while my client is in custody, would the court permit her to have telephonic communication with her mother?
Is Miss Teresa Burns on the Zoom? Any objection from the state?
No, no objection. And I do have a comment too. I don't know if it was
Miss
addressed
Burns,
privately.
Miss Burns, I cannot address you because I don't see you. And also I've instructed Miss Wills to speak to you. All right? She had your defense attorney and the state have conveyed to me a lot of information that I'm not going to broadcast on this open, live streamed public arena. But I can't see you, so I have no idea who I'm addressing. But please be
My video on, and I won't, let me try to read that.
okay.
Is that-
Yeah,
can you see me?
I've advised defense counsel, Ms. Wills, to reach out to you and to explain to you what's going to happen next.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Medication is my big thing for her.
Ms. Reddick, do you have any objection to telephonic contact?
I do not, Your Honor.
All right, so I will permit with regards to the no further contact provision, with the exception that Ms. Burns may engage in telephonic communication with Teresa Burns. Thank you. Next case, please, courtroom 2.
Position 8, Mr. Hyman.
Ms. State versus Aaron Lavon Hyman, case 23 CR 003328E. Mr. Hyman has been accused of battery from May 24th, 2023. Sir, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney will be Ms. Wills. Mr. Howard, any priors, please?
18 total. 2021 battery DV dismissed. 2015 trespass dismissed. 2013 probation, suspended license conviction. And a 2011 sale of marijuana conviction.
All right. Ms. Reddick, what's the recommendation for the state?
Your Honor, would you like me to give you a factual basis as well, or just go straight to the recommendation?
Bond recommendation will be fine. Thank you.
The bond recommendation is $5,000 surety bond. No further contact with the victim. Stay away from the victim's address. It should be noted that the victim and the defendant live in the same complex. And so it's kind of close proximity. And then we would also ask for 1 day anger awareness, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons.
All right. Ms. Wills?
Excuse me. Thank you, Judge. My client is 40 years old. He does not reside in the same apartment complex. His daughter resides in the same complex as the alleged victim. And I do have his address. It's in Austell. My client is employed as a forklift operator at ADI Residual. He's currently at risk of losing his employment as he's been incarcerated since the 24th. He did graduate from Riverdale High. He's been in Georgia for the past 27 years. He does have a 14-year-old and 9-year-old, as well as two daughters who are over the age of 18. My client states that this incident happened after his daughter allowed the alleged victim to live with her. She ended up evicting the alleged victim. He became upset. He refused to pick up his belongings from her apartment. My client and his ex-wife went to their daughter's home and assisted her in moving the belongings outside of the apartment so that the alleged victim could pick them up. He came to the location. He was very upset. He does still reside in the apartment complex and his neighbors with my client's daughter.
I'm sorry, who still resides there?
The alleged victim resides in the
Okay.
complex and he's neighbors with my client's daughter.
Okay,
My client denies hitting the alleged victim. The alleged victim showed up to the home. He was irate. He created a scene. My client states that the alleged lump that was observed on his head, that's something that he has. It's just a defect that he has, and his glasses had already been broken. My client has he will stay away from the incident location. He has no reason to have any contact with the alleged victim. And in light of just the facts or with the facts that my client has explained to me, I would request a surety bond, a signature bond. And if Your Honor is not so inclined, I would ask for a $500 surety bond.
Your Honor, if I may, please.
I just want to be sure, the alleged victim, Stanley, still lives at Godby Road, the apartment complex,
Yes.
with his ex-girlfriend, who,
No.
not with the ex-girlfriend.
Oh, yeah. And so what I want to advise the court is an independent third party, and Miss Dakisha Allen is the one who called law enforcement. She lives in the same apartment with Mr. Stanley, which is close to the ex-girlfriend's apartment. And she had initiated contact with the ex-girlfriend's family, asking that they remove the items that they placed outside from in front of her apartment. And
My
that's when
goodness.
it escalated because she was asking the people who put it outside to do something other than put it in front of her door. And that's when it escalated. And that's when the defendant came across and hit Mr. Stanley because he had moved on with another individual and is living with another woman that is not his child.
So is Stanley still living in the apartment complex?
Yes, he still lives in
All
the
right.
apartment complex with Miss Allen.
All right. No good deed goes unpunished, apparently, in this particular circumstance. Mr. Hyman, your bond is going to be set at $5,000. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services. You're going to report to pretrial once a month. You do not have to pay for the bond today, but you will have to comply with the conditions. If you don't comply with the conditions, you might end up being rearrested and your signature bond being revoked and converted to a surety bond, for which you would have to pay then. So presently, I'm giving you a signature bond, and how you treat it. If you treat it with respect, then we won't have to see you back in jail. But no further contact with Tarenta Stanley. And you unfortunately cannot return to the entire apartment complex at 3100 Godby Road in Atlanta, Georgia. If you have friends or relatives who live there, like your daughter or your friend or whoever, they will have to come to you. You cannot go to them. Do you understand, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
No, you cannot consume any illegal drugs, no weapons, and no firearms allowed. And your next court date will be sent to you at your current address. And I have that. As Panda Road in Austell, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so don't miss out your next court date. You will report to pretrial once a month, and you will attend and complete a anger awareness class while you're in that, while you're reporting to pretrial. Thank you.
That's per judge.
Yes.
Position 5, Ms. Chapman.
Okay. This is State versus Sharia Lynette Chapman, accused of simple battery domestic violence from April 25th, 2023. Ms. Chapman, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Wills. Any priors?
Second adult arrest. Last arrest was back in June, a fugitive from justice arrest.
And, okay, that's fine. I thought I saw that document too. Okay. Ms. Reddick, what is your recommendation for Ms. Chapman?
Your Honor, our recommendation, since she has an arrest out of Las Vegas and Texas, is a $5,000 surety bond, no further contact with the victims, stay away from the incident location, 1 day anger awareness, no alcohol, drugs, or weapon. And it should be noted, Your Honor, that the alleged victim in this case, Ms. Henry, was the girlfriend of the defendant at the time. I would ask the court to sound for her when appropriate.
Ms. Henry, if you want to make a comment, this is the time to unmute and start your video. All right, Ms. Wills?
Thank you, Judge. My client is 24 years old. She has resided in the state of Georgia for the past 5 years. She recently obtained employment at Taco Bell as a shift lead, and is working on enrolling in a GED program. She does have custody of her 15-year-old brother. Her mom passed away 2 years ago, and her brother's father was unable to provide care for him. As it was stated, the victim, or the alleged victim in this case, is my client's ex-girlfriend. This incident did occur April 25th. It's my client's understanding that the alleged victim is now residing in Pennsylvania, so there is no risk of intimidation, reoffense, or anything of that nature. My client has not had any communication with the alleged victim since this incident occurred. And she denies the allegations as alleged. She states the alleged victim was asked to leave the location. She became upset and then called law enforcement and fabricated these claims. My client does have several witnesses who were there on this date. And so for all of those reasons, I would request a signature on bond. No marks or bruises were noted on Miss, I believe her last name is Henry, at the time of the incident.
Okay. Bond is going to be set at 2,500. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services. No further contact with Talene Henry. Do they still live at the Economy Hotel, or do they have a different location now?
They have a different location. She lives on Washington Street in Atlanta.
Okay.
And Ms. Henry does not reside with her.
All right, so no further contact, so there's no reason for her to give her a call or send her a postcard or an email. If that means she's not even to discuss her on social media. And her next court date will be sent to her at her current address at Washington Road. And if she changes her address, the first folks she informs is the clerk of court. All right. No alcohol, no illegal drugs, no weapons, and no firearms. Thank you.
That's per judge.
Mhm. This is position, is it 6 or 7?
You got
This
it.
is 7.
Yes, ma'am. Position 7.
Are we ready to proceed, Ms. Wills?
Yes, I do see Miss Lamar on the call now. Thank you.
All right, thank you. State versus Shatoya Harris, case number 23 CR 003324E. Ms. Harris is accused of simple battery domestic violence from November 27, 2022. Ms. Harris, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Wills. All right, I have 2 Lamars on Zoom. So, Mr. Howard, any priors, please?
Fourth arrest. That's with 2012 driving without a valid license. And a resident of Denver, Colorado.
Oh, okay. Right, Ms. Reddick?
Your Honor, this incident involves a mother-daughter. The defendant is the mother of Ms. Shatavia Lamar. It happened when they were here visiting the grandmother in Atlanta on Wells Street. At the time of filing the report, Ms. Shatavia Lamar advised law enforcement that the defendant, along with her father, became violent towards her when they learned that she was pregnant. And as a result of these acts, she was pulled by her hair, slammed against the car a couple of times. They were attempting to get her into the car to take her back to Colorado. When they were not successful, they didn't immediately allow Ms. Shatavia Lamar, the victim, to leave. She wasn't allowed to leave until the next day. When she left, she made the report. She was also accompanied by a woman by the name of Skyisha Lawson, who, after she made the report to law enforcement, then took her to Grady to be checked out to ensure that there was no injuries to the babies. As a result, Your Honor, of the defendant living out of state and the allegations at the time, we are asking for a $2,500 surety bond. No further contact with the alleged victim, 1 day anger awareness, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons.
All right. Miss Ashanti Lamar, did you want to say something?
Your Honor, she's not the victim. It is Miss Shatavia Lamar, that's the victim.
I know. I just wanted to know who Ashanti Lamar was. Miss Ashanti Lamar?
Yes,
All right. And is that your name, Ashanti Lamar?
yes, Ashanti Lamar.
And how are you related to this situation?
Shatoya is my mother and Shatavia is my sister.
Okay. And how old are you?
I'm 16.
All right. Okay. Thank you. You may mute your screen. Miss Shatavia Lamar, did you want to contribute to these proceedings? All right. You need to unmute.
Yes.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
All right. What would you like to tell us?
I just want to start just to let you know that everything was a misunderstanding. In the report, they said it was some bruises on my neck. Actually it was hickeys, but the officers were saying that they want to still get the evidence of my neck, and I was still telling him that it wasn't bruise marks, it was hickeys, and everything was just a misunderstanding. My mom was just trying to help me out. I actually didn't get slammed to the car. She was trying to tell me to get in the car and we was finna go, ride and talk about what happened. Nobody was putting their hands on me or nothing, how everybody making it seem. It's just a misunderstanding.
And
So
where do
all
you live?
that, I told the officer that those are hickeys. I was trying to be fast with my
Where
boyfriend.
do you live?
I live in Colorado. So, yeah.
With whom?
My mother, Shatoya.
All right. Ms. Harris, with regards to the simple battery family violence, this is an offense that occurred in Fulton County, Georgia. And since you are not a resident of the state of Georgia, there is lacking the issue of community ties or ties to the state. The bonds can be set at $1,000. This is a surety bond.
Your Honor, if I may make an argument.
Oh,
on
I'm so
this?
sorry. Yep. Go ahead.
Your Honor, my client is 38 years old. She is a Georgia native. They were back visiting at the time that this occurred, visiting with her family, her mother. So she does have community ties. Again, she is from here. She has several relatives that reside here. My client
She's from here or she lives here? Which one is it?
She is from here. She is a Georgia native. They did relocate to Colorado last
So
year.
she's no longer living here then?
No, she's not a resident. She's just a
Okay.
Georgia native. My client is employed by CARE, where she is a caregiver and medical technician. And she states that on this incident, my client discovered that her 17-year-old was pregnant, and there was a Facebook post or social media post that my client and the alleged victim's father found inappropriate. The situation did escalate. However, my client denies having any physical contact with the alleged victim. And if you read the warrant and what's stated as probable cause, it never mentions that my client made any physical contact with Miss Lamar. It only notes Mr. Octavius Lamar making contact allegedly. So I'm not sure why a warrant was taken out for my client and not for Mr. Lamar. There is no evidence that my client caused any harm. Again, Miss Lamar, the alleged victim, she lives with her mother. She has now given birth to her child. They live with my client. So I would ask that they be allowed to have contact, that there not be any sort of stay away. Again, my client does intend to fight these charges. She does have community ties. She will return to Georgia. She has places to live where she can stay. So I would ask for a signature on bond.
Yes, I read the warrant. The bond is still set at $1,000 surety bond. No further violent contact with Shatavia Lamar. And she needs to make sure she comes back to court when summoned. Next court date is June 8th. If she makes bond, She will not need to come back on June 8th, but she will be summoned to come back to court in the future. As I've said, the only condition I'm putting is no further violent contact with Shatavia Lamar. Yes, I did note in the warrant that not only is Shatoya Harris being found to have allegedly improperly touched the alleged victim, but also Mr. Lamar, Octavius Lamar, allegedly punching her in the face and pulling her hair as well. So I'm not sure if there's a warrant being taken out against the dad too, so FYI, but both the parents have been charged with a misdemeanor offense, have been charged with misdemeanor just based on the warrant I'm reading. So all I can say is good luck to this family. Thank you.
Position 13, Ms. Streeter. Don't take.
Oh, if I want to have them blow my nose, you're going and yell at me for putting tissue on the table.
Annette Streeter.
Speaking, yes, hello.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Judge Law. Your case number is 23 CR 003319A. You're accused of criminal trespass from May 25th, 2023. Ms. Streeter, with regards to your case, please remember that you have a right to remain silent. Anything that you choose to say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have counsel, and her name is Ms. Anna Wright. Good afternoon, Ms. Wright.
Hello, Judge. How are you today?
Fine, thank you. All right, Mr. Howard, any priors on Ms. Streeter?
Fifth arrest, last was 2004, 2 counts of ag assault, reckless conduct and obstruction. This was a SOB jail recommendation.
All right, Ms. Bickerstaff?
Yes, Your Honor. The state's recommendation for this charge is a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial services and to stay away from Creel Park at 2775 Creel Road. The state's recommendation is this because the defendant was on the premises after being given a criminal trespass warning on the 13th of this month. The defendant was in a tent behind the tennis courts.
All right. Ms. Wright, any particular attraction to that location?
No, Your Honor. Ms. Streeter is trying to get her affairs in order so that she is able to move into housing. She's working with Gateway Atlanta to make sure that that's accomplished. We would ask for a signature bond for her.
Is Pine Trail her official address?
It was before she lost that housing, Your Honor. She will actually be my client moving forward with this case. So I will make sure to contact the point of contact at Gateway Atlanta so that we can stay in contact and we can make sure this doesn't fall through the cracks and that Ms. Streeter gets the services that she needs.
All right, bond's going to be set at $1,000. It's going to be a signature bond through the jail. And we will send her a new court date to whichever address, Ms. Wright, that you provide us with. And if she doesn't show up in court, she could receive a bench warrant and be back in jail.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is to stay away from the entire Krill Park. She cannot return to that particular park to enjoy nature. You may have to find a different park, but not that one. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay.
Position 1, Mr. Abdullah.
Mr. Bilal Abdullah is case number 23 CR 003327Y. Mr. Abdullah has been accused of simple battery, domestic violence from May 25th, 2023. Mr. Abdullah, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Wills. And Miss Wills, excuse me, and Mr. Howard, any priors, please?
8th arrest, last was 2009 probation. I didn't see any violence in this issue.
All right, thank you. Mr. Jones?
Yes, Your Honor. So the state's recommendation is going to be a $3,000 surety bond. Stay away from 2249 Pemberton Road Southwest, and no further contact with the father, which is the victim, Mr. Willie Hunt, or the witness, Mr. Michael Glover. The reason for the state's recommendation, A, is the intimidation of a witness. Your Honor, as you know, that this is the defendant. The victim is the defendant's father, so we have a concern for that, Your Honor. Also, a cooling off period, as this incident took place on May 25th, 2023, in which the defendant punched and jumped on his father's body, all because he had a laptop taken from him. So those are the reasons for the state's recommendation of a $3,000 surety bond. Stay away from 2249 Pemberton Road Southwest, and no further contact with Mr. Willie Hunt. I do not believe that Mr. Hunt is on, but if he is, if Your Honor can sound for him at the appropriate time.
Mr. Willie Hunt? No? All right, Ms. Wills?
Thank you, Judge. My client is 43 years old. He is a Georgia native. Although Mr. Hunt is not on the call, his, I guess, ex-wife's former partner, Ms. Angel is on the call. I did reach out to her in an attempt to have Mr. Hunt on. My client reports that he is a subcontractor and where he works on air conditioners. He's been doing that for the past 19 years. He will not qualify for our services. He did graduate from McNeil Senior High School. And he went to ACT for business. My client also is a veteran. He served in the Air Force and he was honorably discharged. He does have one minor child. He states that he is currently living with his father. He does not have any other housing. He reports that his father, unfortunately, has a substance abuse problem, and that's what led to this misunderstanding. My client does deny the allegations as alleged. He states that his father was under the influence.
Your Honor, we're going to object to anything about the father and substance abuse, anything that we're not here to put the father's character on display. We're here to talk about the 4 Ayala factors and those things, Your Honor.
Objection overruled. All right, so he's alleging that the victim was allegedly under the influence, because these are all allegations.
Yes, and that's what led to the misunderstanding. But my client says that he has never and did not put his hands on his father. He would like to return home. He says that the witness came to the room or in the middle of the kerfuffle. And even in speaking with Miss Angel, she did indicate that her former partner does have some personal issues and struggles that could have led to this misunderstanding. So for all of those reasons, I would ask for a signature on bond. My client does not have a violent history, and I would ask for no further violent contact.
I don't see anything in the documents with regard to anyone being under the influence. So that's a subject that would have to be raised in a trial or a hearing on the merits. So it really has no bearing to the bond issue. Bond's going to be set at $3,500. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services. Mr. Bilal Abdullah will have to vacate the premises at 2249 Pemberton Road in Southwest Atlanta. And he's to have no further contact with Willie Hunt and no further violent contact with Michael Glover. He is to not consume any alcohol, no illegal drugs, and not possess any weapons or any firearms. He's allowed to return to the property one time only with a police officer to retrieve his personal belongings. That visit cannot exceed 1 hour. Mr. Abdullah, I understand that the Public Defender's Office is not going to continue representing you, so you will have to hire a private attorney once you are released. Your next court date will be sent to you at your new address. So within 30 days of being released, you have to let us know what your new address is. Because if you don't get that notice and you don't show up in court, we'll have to issue a bench warrant for failure to appear.
Your Honor, may I ask a question?
Sure.
Where will I have paperwork to show where I can give this address to, so y'all can send me my court date?
I don't understand the question. What?
You said new address, so I would have to come somewhere to give you the new
Yeah,
address. Where do
you
I-
will come to 160 Prior Street.
Okay.
And the first floor, the clerk's office, it's on the first floor. As soon as you step up, you'll see a sign directing you to the clerk's office.
No problem, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
It's prejudice.
Yes, Mr. Howard. Next case.
Position 3.
This is Candarius Bonds, accused of simple battery against a person who is 65 years or older or pregnant at the time. 1 count of simple battery, family violence, and 1 count of cruelty in the 3rd degree. Is count 1 being authorized because of count 3? Ms. Reddick?
I'm sorry, Your Honor. What do you have as count 1? Simple battery against a pregnant person?
Cruelty in the 3rd degree.
Okay, so the cruelty is based on the child observing the simple battery family violence.
We typically don't permit cruelty with the simple battery offense.
Okay.
So do y'all want to NOD it?
Yes, Your Honor, I will submit one.
Okay, unless of course y'all amend the accusation. But count 1 is going to be NOD'd, so it's not going to be on docket. So Miss Champion will be chasing you for that NOD if you don't submit it to the jail, okay? All right, so Mr. Bonds, the charges brought against you are 1 count of simple battery and 1 count of simple battery against a person who's 65 years or older or pregnant, allegedly from a March 24th, 2021 incident. You've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. McLeod. Mr. Howard? Any
This is
comments?
3rd adult arrest. Last was 2019 trespass. You got open ag assault, theft by receiving in Superior Court. 19 SC 166335.
Thank you.
You got a 2019. Yeah, I'll tell you that with this mess. All right.
I got that one. All right, Ms. Reddick?
Your Honor, we would like the court to be aware of, under that 19 SC 166335, Ms. Mashlin Hill, our current victim, is also listed as a victim. It is an aggravated assault, also with a brandishing a weapon and discharging a weapon towards this young lady.
Yes, I've read that. So what's your recommendation for this one?
In light of all of those things, Your Honor, we would ask that he receive a $10,000 cash bond, which would be $5,000 on each count. No further contact with the victim. There would be third-party contact should he choose to want to see either of the children, because our victim was pregnant at the time with his 2nd child. We would also ask that he do 1-day anger awareness, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons.
All right. Ms. McLeod?
Yes, Your Honor, I believe Ms. Hemphill is on because I spoke to her earlier. So if the court would summon for her first, I'd like her to speak first before I address the court.
I see a Mashlin Hemphill. Is that who you were referring to?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Hemphill, this is Judge Law. If you would like to address the court, you would need to. Where are you?
Hello. Hi.
Hi. I only can see your ceiling.
See me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi. How you doing?
Fine, thank you.
All right.
May I place you under oath?
Yes.
Do you solemnly, the other right hand?
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. My camera is backwards.
That's okay. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Do you know a Candarius Bonds?
Yes.
Do you share children with him?
Yes, we share 2 kids.
All right. And how old are they?
4 and 1.
All right. And do you feel comfortable with him being in the same home with you?
Yes, he loves his kids and he's been looking for a job lately, but it's been a lot going on at the moment with that, trying to move and stuff. So yes, I feel safe with him around.
And how long has he been living with you?
We've been on and off. He haven't really just been living with me, but we was just together.
What do you mean by just together?
Before he had got locked up, we was at my grandmother's house.
That was the 2019 case?
Yes.
All right. And so since then, y'all have had contact with each other?
Yes, we have.
You do realize there's a court order requiring him to not have any contact with Lakeisha Hemhill and with you?
And they said, oh, I thought it was just Lakeisha Hempill. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it looks like it's just for Lakeisha Hemhill. Let me see.
Yes, ma'am.
Our review revealed that it was just Miss Lakeisha Hempo, which was a bit surprising to the state as well.
Okay. All right. And are there any weapons at home? Any firearms?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
We don't have those. No, ma'am.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you have any comment about the incident from 2021?
I don't. I mean, he's been a great father. He loves his kids. He's working on bettering his life. Like, he really is trying. I mean.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Ms. McLeod, anything else to add?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 24 years old. He is currently unemployed. So any bond, a cash bond, he absolutely is in no position to pay. So the bond that the state is requesting is tantamount to no bond for him. It just means he'll be sitting in jail. He is not in a position to post any bond because he has not been employed. This incident happened according to the police report. This happened more than 2 years ago, Your Honor. Since then, they've had another child together and they continue to be in a relationship, even though they do not actually live together. My client gave me a separate address from Ms. Hempel's address. I was able to speak with Ms. Hempel and she told me categorically that she does not fear my client, that they've long moved on from this alleged incident and that she's not in the least bit afraid of him. I would ask the court to give my client a signature bond, Your Honor. He has no significant criminal history based on what pretrial said. And this incident happened more than 2 years ago. And he has been out there and he hasn't had any other incidents with Ms. Hemphill or anything else. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Right. On the simple battery is family violence, that's going to be $1,000 surety bond. On the simple battery against an individual who is pregnant, that's going to be a $2,000 surety bond. His total bond is going to be set at $3,000. It is a surety bond. No further violent contact with Mashlyn Hemphill. He can have contact with Ms. Hemphill as long as there's no physical or verbal altercations. He's just not authorized to live under the same roof with her, so he cannot be cohabitating with her. Certainly they can have third-party transfer of the children and no illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons and no firearms. Unfortunately, due to the nature of his open felony case, he just does not qualify for a signature bond. And also based on the information I received from Ms. Hemphill, I am a little concerned that since this is domestic violence, he needs to be on a surety bond to make sure that there's no likelihood to reoffend. His next court date is June 8th. His total bond is $3,000 surety. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Position 9, Mr. Kincaid.
Deputy, what's the issue with position 6, Gibbs, Katrika Gibbs? Are we going to be addressing her today?
She's at ACDC.
All right.
Yes, Your Honor, I represent I represent her. I spoke to her earlier and I have sent to Miss Champion a waiver for personal appearance.
Okay, waiver appearance, all right. Just remind us as we move.
That's Miss
Thank you.
Champion.
Okay. Decision number 9, I have Richard Kincaid accused of fare evasion, willful obstruction of an officer and criminal trespass from May 25th, 2023. Mr. Kincaid, you've been advised of your right to remain silent and your attorney is Ms. Wills. Mr. Howard?
Fifth arrest, the last arrest was in March, Henry County, trespass. Misdemeanor possession of marijuana. I got an open trespass in the cab and the open case in Henry. 2021 obstruction, disorderly conduct. That's it.
All right, thank you. Ms. Bickerstaff?
Yes, Your Honor. The state's recommendation is a $1,000 surety bond, $250 for the fare evasion, $500 for the willful obstruction, and $250 for the criminal trespass. Also to stay away from the MARTA station at 2848 Main Street, as well as no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond. Just briefly, Your Honor, as you already know, this incident occurred yesterday, and this is where the officers observed the defendant coming through the south gate without paying the $2.50 fare to get through the gates. And so then when officers approached him about his breeze card, he refused to let them know. So then they issued him a criminal trespassing warning. Just moments later, the defendant then went to the north entrance of the MARTA station and tried to gain entry, and that's where officers arrested him. And that is when he was forcefully jerking away, resisting arrest, and he even tried to flee.
Ms. Wills?
Thank you, Judge. My client is just 22 years old. He has resided in Georgia practically his entire life. He is currently now living with his sister, Miss Betty Newton. Unfortunately, my client has faced some homelessness in his past. I'm going to be, or I have already sent an email out for social services to speak with him about housing options. My client does deny the allegations. He states that he did use his card by way of the mobile app, the mobile 2.0 app, to obtain access into the train. He was told to leave. He states that he did leave. He crossed the street, and then law enforcement was chasing him. He states that he was choked and also received a busted lip. And he stated that he did not have any way to show them. He didn't have a card to show them. It was on his phone. So I have asked him upon his release to provide that documentation to show that he was lawfully on the train. And again, just due to my client's young age, and then his past history, I would ask for a signature on bond, Your Honor.
All right. On the fare evasion, it's going to be $100. On the criminal trespass, it's going to be $200. And on the willful obstruction, that's going to be $500. That's an $800 surety bond. To stay away from the East Point MARTA station, if he needs to use MARTA, he would need to use that app on his phone and make sure that it scans through before he enters the provision. But he cannot embark or disembark from the East Point MARTA station. Before he is released from the jail, he must also provide the court with his valid mailing address, his phone number, since he does appear to have a phone, and also an email so that we may have complete information about him. All right. No illegal drugs and no weapons and no firearms. Next court date is going to be June 8th.
Position 11.
11?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Nicholas Novak is accused of DUI under the influence of alcohol, less safe, and willful obstruction of an officer from May 25th, 2023. The accusation that's been brought against him is 23 CR 003321H. And Mr. Novak, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is going to be Miss Wright. Okay. And Mr. Howard, any priors?
Oh,
No. Okay. Miss Bickerstaff?
Yes, Your Honor. Just briefly, I have in my criminal history for the defendant, I have 2 FTAs, one from 2016 and another one in 2020, and a possession of drug use object in 2020 as well.
And do you know what jurisdictions those are in?
I can look it up for you in just a second. I can look it up while Ms. Wright presents, and then I can come back and tell you.
Also, Deputy, do you think these individuals have finished their intake? Because I'm missing all information, address, phone number. Did they finish intake? Or do they have to go back to complete?
I believe he does. I'm looking at his card now, has no information.
Okay, so they will need to go back to be processed with intake just to make sure we have all their information. Otherwise, we're going to have a problem sending notices to these folks. All right, so Ms. Bickerstaff, do you know what jurisdiction that's in?
Yes, so the 2016 FTA is out of Oconee County. And then
Isn't there some kind of lake there?
I'm sorry?
No, I'm just talking to myself. Isn't there some kind of lake over there? Okay.
And then the 2020 FTA and drug possession charges are out of Woodstock. Municipal Court, yes.
Okay.
So, Your Honor, this incident occurred yesterday at 11-7-8-80 Haynes Bridge Road. This was the Shake Shack. And this is where officers received a call about the defendant being extremely drunk and attempting to drive his car. When officers approached the defendant, they noticed his keys were in the ignition, and then they noted that they smelled alcohol on the defendant. Officers also noted that they had to ask the defendant several times to exit the vehicle. He was belligerent, he was yelling and beating on the car window. And additionally, the defendant refused to get out of the vehicle. So officers had to get inside the vehicle to handcuff him and pull him out of the vehicle, Your Honor. For these reasons, the state's recommendation is a $4,000 surety bond, $3,000 for the DUI, $1,000 for the willful obstruction, as well as no driving without DDS approval and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons while out on bond.
All right, Ms. Wright?
Your Honor, I'm not certain that the state's correct about the FTAs. I spoke to my client earlier. If that's the case, he's not at all aware of it. And part of the pretrial sheet says that's not coming up for them either.
Okay.
I'm not sure how to bridge that gap. And did I hear the state mention 3 different charges? Because I think I only have 2.
2, DUI less safe under the influence of alcohol and willful obstruction of an officer.
Okay. Then we are on the same page. Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Novak is 31 years old. He lives at home with his parents. I'm happy to provide the state with the address. He works at a retirement home as a chef. He's been working with them for 5 months. He's lived in Georgia his entire life. He will continue to live in Georgia. We are asking for a $3,000 global signature bond on this case.
All right. This has nothing to do with any alleged prior FTAs. This has nothing to do with any prior alleged DRO cases in Woodstock. This is strictly based on the allegations based on written out by the Officer Van Heest, and the electronic warrant. And based on that allegations is of great concern with regards to the information provided. On the DUI is going to be a $2,500 surety bond. On the willful obstruction is going to be $1,000 surety bond. Total bond is $3,500. It is a surety bond. Next court date is June 8th. No,
Thank you, Your Honor.
no further driving unless permitted by Department of Driver Services. No alcohol, no illegal drugs, no weapons. And we'll see him on June 8th. If he does make bond, does he qualify for the services of the PD's office?
No, Your Honor, he does not.
Mr. Novak, once you make bond, please be advised that you would need to retain your own private attorney as you do not qualify for the public defender's office. Thank you.
Position 15, Mr. Tillman.
Damian Tillman is accused of battery family violence from May 25th, 2023. His accusation number is 23 CR 0033268. Mr. Tillman, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Wright. Mr. Howard, any priors, please?
Second arrest, 2019 failed to comply, and 2012 possession of stolen property dismissed.
All right, thank you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah, sorry, I'm looking to see Mr. Jones, sorry.
That's okay. The state's recommendation is going to be a $3,000 surety bond. Stay away from 1005 Kingwoods Place, and no further contact with Tamia Harper. Your Honor, we believe that there's a high risk of intimidation of a witness, as this is a family violence case. Basically, officers responded yesterday around 5:30 to a damaged property call in which they made contact with the victim, Ms. Harper, who showed signs of being hit on her left arm and tricep area, as she had a large scrape and gashes as well as visible bruising. The defendant advised officers that he tried to move her out of the way and stop her from damaging the truck. We also believe that he is a danger to any to a person or the community. He is a multi-state offender out of Arizona, Nevada, Washington, and California. And it looks like there may be a hold for that for a contempt of court in New Mexico as well. And those are the reasons for the state's $3,000 surety bond. Stay away from 1005 Kingwood Place, and no further contact with Ms. Tamia Harper. Thank you, Your Honor.
So you've got information that he's got a fugitive hold of some kind from New Mexico? I'm sorry, you're on mute, Mr. Jones?
Sorry, Your Honor, give me 1 second.
But that's very different from the report I got from Mr. Howard. I don't know whether he's back yet. He just stepped away from his desk.
Give me 1 second, Your Honor. I can pull up to give you that exact hold number.
Mr. Howard, are you back to Sao Paulo?
I just sit back down. Who are we on?
Damian Tillman. Mr. Jones indicates he may have out of state multi-state offender list. Arizona, Washington, Nevada, California, and a possible hold in New Mexico.
All right, the history I gave you was out of Washington. Let me check.
And while this being checked, Mr. Jones, I understand that the Kingswood Place was at some kind of motel or hotel. So I don't.
That is a motel, Your Honor.
Okay, and do they live together or share?
That is our understanding, Your Honor.
Okay.
They don't live together, Your Honor.
They don't.
No, and he's very comfortable with no further contact.
All right.
They only put a Washington history in here. So
Mr. Jones, what's the offense in Arizona? If you
It's the, hold on 1 second, Your Honor. The system is connecting me back for some reason.
Yeah, they even put 2 arrest cycles on the bond.
I'm almost there, Your Honor. I do apologize.
Okay. Can we just put a hold on Mr. Tillman while the state is looking up his record? I want to get to position 6, Katrika Gibbs. Miss Gibbs is 23 CR 003305Y, accused of battery family violence from May 20th, 2023. She's represented by Miss McLeod, who has waived her appearance. Miss McLeod, are you present? Miss McLeod? Oops, can't get to that one either.
And Your Honor, on that one, I had asked for a breakout room, just as a reminder, Judge.
Oh, that was also the breakout? Okay.
Yes,
then.
Ms. McLeod is back, Your Honor.
All right.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, we're waiting on Mr. Jones to get me Mr. Tillman's GCIC. So Ms. Strong, if you could place me, Ms. Reddick, and Ms. McLeod in breakout, please.
Oh, Gibbs history, 5th arrest, 2022 battery, 2019 drug traffic.
Okay.
You want me to generate that history, or you just?
No, I'm good right now with that. I'm good with that. Thank you.
Mr. Tillman, Your Honor, my other client is it's not Mr. Tillman, I don't believe.
What history was she looking for Tillman? Mommy?
The history beside the Arizona and the other ones.
Mommy? Uh-huh. Love you too. Bye.
I have it pulled up. I just didn't know if we wanted to discuss it because we were still live.
Okay, go. Bye.
So he does have history in other states?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I don't know why my people didn't put it in here, but okay, I'll make a note of it.
All right, we are coming back to readdress position number 15, 23 CR 3326A, Mr. Damian Tillman. Mr. Howard, can you verify his multi-state offense list?
No, Jones was supposed to do it.
Oh, all right. I guess Mr. Howard's dumped it on Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones?
Well,
Yes,
he
Your
said he
Honor.
was gonna do it. I asked you, did you want me to run it? You said no.
You are absolutely right. You're absolutely right. All right, Mr. Jones.
All right, yes, Your Honor. So I'll start with this is going to be his history out of Arizona. While it is remote, like from 2011, which could be the reason of why they didn't provide it to pretrial. His charges were receiving earnings of a prostitute, illegal control of enterprise, and driving with license suspended, revoked, and or canceled for that one. And then the Nevada one is a felony charge. I'm sorry, Your Honor. Conspiracy to violate Uniform Controlled Substance Act.
What?
And then
It's
we
a
have,
drug-related offense.
yes, Your Honor, they're really drug-related offenses. The hold out of New Mexico is for a contempt of court.
Okay. And you're recommending a $3,000 surety bond for this charge, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Right. Ms. Wright?
Your Honor, if we could, Mr. Tillman's raising his hand and I'm inclined to
Sure.
ask him.
Mr. Tillman, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you choose to say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. If you want to waive your right to remain silent, please remember that anything you say can be used against you.
Yes, Your Honor, I do understand.
What would you like to tell me or your attorney?
I would like to say that that's not me in Arizona. I don't know what that is. I don't know what charges those are. There was something about a prostitute or something like that. And
What about New Mexico?
New Mexico is not a contempt of court. I pay a fine for a traffic ticket in New Mexico, and I did make the payment last month. I'm not gonna lie.
What about Nevada?
Nevada, I don't know anything about what was it called? I don't know anything about the.
You've got a felony drug-related charge.
No, I mean, why? No, why would I? No,
Okay. All right.
I've never been to jail for any of that.
All right.
Never been to prison for. I've never been to prison. I'm not. It sounds like prison things to me. I've never been to prison. Never. No, for real. I've never. No, it's not me. I'm not saying that anyone that goes to prison is a person, but that's just not me. No.
All right, Mr. Jones and Mr. Howard, if you all want to verify his GCPC
I'll run it.
for
real
down,
quick.
no, for down the road. Right now, I'm going to go on to Ms. Wright. Ms. Wright?
Your Honor, I'm very concerned that we're not getting like solid results from pretrial and from background checks, because I think this is my second client that's kind of it hasn't matched up. And he's saying that he doesn't know where these Arizona and Nevada cases are coming from, and the New Mexico charges contempt from a ticket. I haven't heard any violent history on any of these allegations. Mr. Tillman is he's 44 years old. He's lived in Atlanta for 3 years. He has a job. He's a driver. He delivers fresh linens for UHS linens. He's got his high school diploma. He also got his associate's degree. More important than I think any of the factors is he needs chemo medication because he suffers from a chronic leukemia that he's had for 3.5 years. He's been telling the jail that he needs these medications, and my understanding is that the jail doesn't have them to give him. He does have them at home, of course. He has no issues whatsoever staying away from the complaining witness. They do not live together, and they're certainly not going to be together after today. This happened at a motel. Your Honor, I am asking for a signature bond of some sort.
Okay. Deputy, could you have Mr. Tillman set aside for a minute? Mr. Howard's going to generate another report and then I'll make a decision. The next position I'll take is either is there a Mr. Fisher?
Thomas, position 14.
Okay, thank you. We have a Ronald Thomas. Ms. McLeod, who is your other client?
Sylvester Fisher, Your Honor.
How do you spell the last name?
Fisher.
Tell Michael Jordan, Chairman. His charge was put on there accidentally.
I'm sorry, officer, what was that?
Judge, I spoke to Michael Jordan earlier.
Right?
He said that that charge for Mr. Fisher was actually accidentally put in. He didn't email to pertinent people that's supposed to get that information. I thought he would be on here today to explain it to you a little further than I can.
It's a bench warrant.
Okay.
It already has a 22 CR case. It should be going on the SAP calendar.
All right. Could we have this CR case number, please? All right, I'm going to address Mr. Thomas first, and if you get the CR number for Mr. Fisher, if you could please send it to, if you just post it on the chat, we'll be able to look at it, including his attorney. So Mr. Thomas is 23 CR 003320B, accused of battery, domestic violence from July 13, 2022. Mr. Thomas, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Wright. Mr. Howard, any priors on Mr. Ronald Thomas?
41 total. Last arrest was 2020, probation, theft by receiving, theft by taking. On probation in Gwinnett. Hold on. It says possession of tools, criminal attempt. In addition, got a theft by taking, theft by receiving. They gave him 5 years probation for that in 2020. Got an open felony case in Superior Court 14 SC 128643. Theft by receiving, possession of a firearm by convicted felon, operating a chop shop. What else? On parole for theft by receiving. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Jones?
Yes, Your Honor. So the state's recommendation is going to be a $3,000 surety bond, no further contact with the victim, Ms. Aaliyah Myers, and to stay away from 2280 Country Club Drive. Your Honor, the reason for the state's recommendation is there's a high intimidation of witness. The victim here is the defendant's daughter, and the defendant used his hands to grab, slap, and push her, causing bruises to her shoulder, neck, and arms. The bruising was observed by the officers. During the actual battery, he grabbed her upper torso and started hitting her upper torso and hitting her in the head. The victim advised officers that her father became upset with her about damaging her grandmother's vehicle. Your Honor, we believe he's a danger to the community. This was his daughter that he did hit. I did show an active warrant in the cab for burglary, forced entry, and the likelihood to offend. In 2014, he had an FTA and a fugitive from justice, and as you just heard about the parole. Therefore, the state's recommendation is going to be a $3,000 surety bond, no further contact with the victim, Aaliyah Myers, and a stay away from 2280 Country Club Drive. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Wright?
Yes, Your Honor. This case is from almost a year ago. Ms. Myers is Mr. Thomas's biological daughter. However, they do not live in the same home, and it's actually on the report that they don't live in the same home. Mr. Thomas lives in the country club address, and my understanding is that she does not. We are asking for a $1,000 surety bond on this case, Your Honor.
All right. Bond is set at $3,000. It is a surety bond. No further contact with Aaliyah Myers. He can return to 2280 Country Club Drive, Southwest Atlanta, if it is verified that Aaliyah Myers does not live there. So he's permitted to go back there one time only with a police officer, to either retrieve his belongings and live elsewhere, or to verify that she does not live there, then he can return to the property. Did you have a question, Mr. Thomas?
Me and her stay there. We've been
He
staying.
does stay there?
Yes, I don't live on Country Club.
You don't live there?
No, I don't stay on Country Club. That's from when I was 18.
Let me ask you another question again. Do you live at 2280 Country Club Drive in Southwest Atlanta?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you live there.
Yes, ma'am.
Does Aaliyah Myers live there?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so you are to stay away from 2280 Country Club Drive in Southwest Atlanta. You can return one time only with a police officer to retrieve your belongings. Within 30 days of being released, you have to update us with your new new address. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons. Incidentally, Mr. Jones is correct. You have a DeKalb County hold as well as a parole hold. So unfortunately, even if you make bond, you will not be released subject to these holds.
Can I ask my parole?
Yes, sir.
My parole ended in 2021, September 2021.
Well, you're gonna have to take that up with the Department of the Board of Pardons and Paroles because they have a hold on you.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Thank you. No further contact with Ms. Myers means that you're not to communicate with her in any way, form, or manner and stay 200 yards away from her. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right.
All right, I'm ready.
Go ahead.
The state was right. He got history out of Arizona, Cali, Nevada. So the history they gave is correct. And Washington.
All right. Ms. Wright, anything else to add?
I don't think so, Your Honor.
All right. On the battery domestic violence, the bond is going to be set at a $3,000 surety bond to have no further contact with Tamia Harper and to stay 200 yards away, not communicate with her in any way, form, or manner. No illegal drugs, no weapons, and no alcohol. Yes, Mr. Tillman?
I respect your decision as far as the surety bond. A signature bond would be better. I don't have anyone here and my cell phone is days. I have no one's number. And I really got to get my medicine if nothing else. I don't mind reporting every week or whatever I need to do, but I don't have the means to get out on that type of a bond right now. I can go pick up my check from work, which I had, supposed to be Friday. I was supposed to get my check. And cash it and pay it. You can change the signature bond to a surety bond then.
Mr. Tillman, based on your multi-state offender list, you do not qualify for a signature bond. And the fact that you decided to testify and dispute your history also gives me great concern about your ability to tell the truth.
That's not
You do not qualify for a signature bond. Thank you. It's a $3,000 surety bond reset to June 8th.
That's it in according to.
All right. Thank you, officer. Going back, do we have folks coming in from ACDC today? No? All right, let's go ahead over the calendar. Position 1 was 3,500 signature bond through pretrial for the notice. Position 2, Burnett is a 8,500 surety bond. Reset date is June 8th. Position 3, bonds is a $3,000 surety bond. Reset date is June 8th. Position 4, Ms. Strong, we can go ahead and mute courtroom 2, please. Thank you. All right, position 4, Burns is a signature. No, this is a reset to June 22nd at 11 a.m. That's a $2,000 surety bond. Excuse me, $1,500 surety bond. And that's reset to June 22nd at 11 a.m. Position 5, Chapman's a 2,500 signature bond to pretrial for the notice. 6, Gibbs is a $5,000. I believe it's a $5,000 surety bond. Reset date is June 8th. And Ms. Champion, with regards to position 6, Gibbs We're also going to put her 2 companion cases listed on the calendar on June 8th as well.
Okay.
Right?
Was that no contact?
That was no contact with
Okay.
Terrence Phelps. Position 7, that's a $1,000 surety bond. Reset date is June 8th. Position 8, Hyman's a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial. Further notice. Position 9 is a $800 surety bond. Reset date June 8th. Position 10, Andrew Land. Do we have?
I think they said he was at Grady or something.
That is correct.
All right, so this is going to be reset to the C calendar tomorrow on May 27th. Position 11, Novak's a 3,500 surety bond, reset date June 8th. 12, Parker has been released, and that case is further noticed. 13, Streeter is a $1,000 signature bond through the jail, further notice. 14, Thomas is a $3,000 surety bond. Further notice, reset date June 8th. And Phil Tillman is a $3,000 surety bond, reset date June 8th.
Go back to number 8, please.
Yes, sir.
I just need the amount.
$5,000 short, a signature bond through pretrial. No judge. All right, folks, I think that completes the calendar, and y'all have a great weekend. If I don't see you before then, enjoy your Monday.